Hello, population of deer. All right, so we have 20 introduced into wildlife sanctuary. So I'm assuming sanctuary means it's confined somehow. It's estimated that sanctuary can sustain up to 400 deer. So once I see something like that, I'm thinking, oh, this is probably logistic growth. And that 400 is the carrying capacity. Absent constraints, the population would grow by 80% per year. So that's an exponential growth rate, a yearly rate of 80% would be 8 out of 100, which reduces down to 8/10 per year. So that's our growth rate. And then the 20, that would be our initial population. The formula for logistic growth, remember, is to get any new population. We take the previous population, which is always called Pn-1. We add to that the growth rate times that previous population. Now this on its own would be exponential growth, the recursive formula. Logistic growth says, well, the carrying capacity matters, so we're going to multiply by 1 minus that previous population over whatever the carrying capacity is. So just reminding you about the formula. A lot of times, if I don't have it right in front of me, I'm going to write it down first and then plug into it. For this problem, I wanted to know the next 2 years population for the deers. So P1 would be to take the previous one, that would be P0, plus R in this case would be 0.8. Times P0 again, 1 minus P0 over 400. So this intermediate step isn't really necessary. You could have just plugged in the 20 there and there, but I just wanted to remind you, this is how it's going to work each time. Each time I use this formula, the 0.8 stays the same, the 400 stays the same, and I just grab whatever the previous population is, and that goes there, there, and there. So then plugging in numbers is going to be 20 plus 0.8 times 20 times 1 minus 20 over 400. And then we'll whip out a calculator, get a number, and then we'll repeat that for P2. And in P2, we'll plug in whatever that answer is, plus 0.8 times that new answer, times 1 minus whatever the new answer is over 400. And again, we just keep replacing into there the new answer. And that's why I like using a spreadsheet. But the previous answer button on a calculator can be helpful. So I'm going to do Desmos first and spreadsheet second. Spreadsheet's my preferred method because I can extend it much quicker. So a couple options on Desmos. One, I just type it as I see it. I can just type the 20 plus the 0.8 times 20 times parentheses 1 minus 20 over 400. So I get the next number is 35.2. And I didn't have to round that often. I'm going to do a wavy equals because I had to round at the computer or a calculator rounded. And then that 35.2 for the next part just gets plugged in to that same process. All right, so if you need to do a bunch of them, here's a more efficient way to use a calculator, which is kind of like using a spreadsheet. I type the initial population first and just hit enter. Now it's the previous answer. So then to set up my next one, I just say take the previous answer plus 0.8 times the previous answer, parentheses 1 minus the previous answer over 400. And the cool thing about typing it this way is if I hit enter and enter again, it's going to take the new previous answer and make the next calculation for me, which is pretty sweet. And most calculators with scientific calculators with a previous answer button work this way. except the Apple calculator. And if I keep hitting enter, so that's I have the initial year, year 1, end of year 2. This would be the end of year 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. I just keep hitting enter to get the next one. Spreadsheet version. 1. Share out this spreadsheet again if anyone needs it. Pull up the screen. So I want to keep track of the year. I want to keep track of the year. 0 and the 1, 2. I've got to type the 20. And then for the actual deer, I'm pretty much like I did before. I have to type equals to tell the spreadsheet to do a calculation. And then I just click on the previous answer plus 0.8 times the previous answer times parentheses. Special note here, on some calculators, you don't have to have times next to a parentheses. On a spreadsheet, you must have that times there, otherwise it will not compute. 1 minus the previous answer over 400, close parentheses. I hit enter, it calculates the 35.2. I don't want to fill down yet. If I did that right, again, it's just looking above for the previous answer. It should calculate the next several answers that I want. So if I want to fill down the 1 and 2, I got to select at least 2 numbers and then fill down. But those should match the numbers I have in Desmos. So Desmos, we had a 60 and a 102 and a 163 and a 240. 60, 102, 163, 240.